Three, two, one, and we're on. This is the SHB StopHoldingBack, SHB Unfiltered Podcast, episode number, Chris?
Episode number 14.
14. We're on 14, which means we have completed 2 consecutive weeks of daily podcasts. That's daily podcasts. We're the only podcast with people who stutter, podcasting every day, doing live streams, Q&A through Facebook. This is completely unrehearsed. It's just us chatting as friends, talking about a number of topics around stuttering, unrelated stuttering, bit of banter between each other, mostly towards Sanjog. And that's it, guys. Thank you for joining. Today, got myself, Ruben Pillai, got Christopher Jackson, aka CJ, and Sanjog Sandhu. How's it going today? Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Let's go. How's it going?
The weekend.
Happy days. Happy days.
Oh, I forgot the key line. We are in lockdown. So this is Lockdown City, the lockdown podcast. We started when lockdown started. And as long as lockdown is going on, we'll be running every single day because that's how we roll.
That's what we do.
Can I not carry on again? Sorry. Sandra, you're saying something about your hair.
Leave me alone. Nothing about my hair specifically. However, as you can all see, it has started to come back now. I know, right? Crazy.
The best part about your haircut is you kind of defeat the point of trying to hide your hairline. It's now more prominent than it was before.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a note to my future self, do not do that. I feel like colouring it in with some pen.
I can just do it like here. Just go
line,
just like that.
No, but you got that classic like V, like I guess guys like you just like they've headbutted a few people in their time. Then you've got that solid surface area and that airtight V at the front.
Yes, mate. I've been headbutting since the age of 3, mate.
Solid, man. Solid.
Yeah.
Chris, what's going on today? Talk to me.
Today hasn't been the most interesting of days. I was telling Sanjog earlier, not a lot has happened. Just went from the living room to the kitchen, over to the dining room. Then an Amazon parcel arrived, which was the highlight of my day until now, the daily podcast.
Dude, like when lockdown started and I received something from Amazon, trust me, it was like a weird experience because I got a knock at the door. I went to receive it. The guy took 3 meters of steps back, completely covered up. And he looked at me as if he's going to shoot me or something. He just said, yeah, just pick it up. All right, then. And then instead of asking me to sign for it, he took a picture of me picking it up. And then he just left.
Really?
And I was like, have you just come from the future or something? Because that's what it felt like. It just felt like, it felt really, really weird. Really weird. And second thing that's been happening is, so today I went into town. So usually I pop over to like the Waitrose or the Sainsbury's. That's very close by. But there's a big queue today at both. So I popped into town to the M&S. And when I was queuing up, so they had the 2 meter rule and everything. There was like a lady. She was a bit old, and she kind of seemed a bit confused as well. She was carrying a few things, and every time the queue moved, so she was behind me. She would pull her stuff right behind me, and then I'd look at her as if like, "What are you doing?" But this is like normal to do in general life, but because they apply these rules about social distancing and stuff, it's really made me wary about just people around me and stuff. And then on my way back, I bumped into someone that I know, and he was like, "Yo, Ruben." I was like, "Yo," and then we're about to shake hands, but we didn't, and we're about to like touch shins, but we didn't, and we didn't know what to do. Do the elbow thing, but 2 meters away. Now you can't do that as well. So I was like, dude, let's just what's going on? And then it's really affected the way we actually think about our fellow man on the street.
And in shops, what I've noticed, especially in supermarkets, people are planning their journey within the supermarket so well now. It's almost as if they're formulating. You know how we're taught to formulate. They're formulating their every movement, and they're analysing who's coming up from the other end of the aisle, and at what point are they going to pick up the item, and make sure their timing is good so they're not too close to the person walking this way. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. It's changed everything.
It's a strange world, and even like when we get to the point where this thing passes, the world has changed forever now. And I truly believe that, because what's going to happen when we get the flu season and someone sneezes in the trade? The people will just pick them up and throw them off.
Yeah. Sure.
And before we used to see like people from China on the train with masks on their face and think they're a bit weird, but yeah, there's things are going to be very, very different when we get to flu season here, because how do you know that it's flu and not COVID-19 again? How are we going to know, right?
Well, instantly you won't. I think we naturally assume the worst.
Of course.
So, yeah. So it's going to be difficult.
We're taught to see the best in each other, but we instead we see the worst.
Yeah.
Which brings me to Sanjog.
What does that mean?
Nothing. How's your week been? Because it's been a few days since we had you on.
Yeah, so
awfully busy, right? Do nothing.
So the last time I was on, what was it, Tuesday? Maybe. What do you mean you don't know?
Episode 10, I think. Episode 10? Yeah, episode 10.
I don't know.
So that's Tuesday. No, that's Monday. Sorry, episode 10 is Monday.
Was it Monday?
Yeah, episode 10 was Monday.
Maybe. But anyways, I've actually been an NHS call responder, and I was expecting it to be kind of hectic. However, in the whole week, I've only had 2 actual calls, so hasn't been too hectic. However, the actual calls were a little bit stressful. I was expecting them to be tests, right? I answered it, fully expecting it to just be another test, and it was an actual staff member. So I was like, shit, what do I say again? What do I say? What do I do? But at the end, it was all right. I think it's only natural for the first couple of calls to be flustered, right? Flustered.
Wait, so you said first couple of calls, but you've only had 2 this week.
Yeah.
So
all my calls have been flustered. Yeah, you got me.
The first couple that he
this guy's blagging
script.
Yeah.
Well, there's a script that you can deviate a little bit, but that's what you've got to say, basically.
Yeah. However, on the calls I had, the answers weren't on the script, so I was like scanning the script, like shit, which one is it? Like going down each one, and it just wasn't there. So obviously I was a little bit like, what the hell do I do? What do I say? But I just improvised, and it was all gravy. It was all gravy.
What did you
Poor
actually?
people, man. Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Yeah. What does that even mean? Improvise and it was all gravy.
It was all
What
gravy, you know.
happened?
I was on there, you know, just starting my face off, and then I'm just thinking, "Fuck, man, this guy's taking a while." I'm sorry.
Slightly off topic, but it would be funny, right, if someone called in and they were actually some kind of coach on the M group, and, and they're like, pause, be more assertive.
Yeah, it'd be like,
Just a quick one, Sandra. So I've got the app as well. So I've also put myself down as a responder, as you know, and I've had the app for about 3-4 days. I've been online for the entire time. I've got nothing, man. But the one thing that it has like this grid, so you can see all the other responders who have put themselves down, and you can make a profile and stuff. And I put a picture up as well, but it seems like I'm the only one who's put a picture up in my area.
oh, really?
Yeah, but yeah, still,
What are you supposed to be responding to on that app?
look, I've been on duty for 69 hours. I've got like zero. No, it'll be things like, so they need someone to take these pills or these supplies to this person stuck in their house. So you've got about 1.5 million people in the UK identified as vulnerable. So like one of my friends, he had a kidney transplant last year, so he's in that list. And if you've had a transplant, they give you anti-immune medicines, because if they don't do that, then your immune system starts to reject the organ and attack it. So they have to actually make his immune system weaker to accept it. But if it's bloody virus going around, that's the last thing you need, isn't it? Yeah. So he's been, so him and all these other people are homebound for 3 months. And they literally can't leave for any reason, because they could easily catch something and it'll be game over. Just a quick one before we carry on. I just want to hi to our hundreds of people tuning in on the Facebook feed. By hundreds, I mean 9. And one of them is Chris. But so we've got Anthony Hitchcliffe, Sup Heroes.
What's up, Anthony?
Sup.
Anthony?
We've got Chris Papacosta. That's one of CJ's boys.
That's my cousin, as it goes.
Oh, really?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
And we've got Ayo Adesanya, who can't be on the podcast, but he's free to actually watch the podcast.
That's interesting, isn't it, Ayo? Bit of a slacker
joining us, Ayo. And last but not least, the last name I can see is Mr. Callum Schofield. I always think of Prison Break when I see his name pop up.
Yeah.
Solid. Really?
It's great.
Yeah, like especially the first 2 seasons. Then it gets a bit.
Yeah.
Then they're scraping a bit, but the first season is like, the first season is hot.
It's awesome. Like
their teabag. Teabag Sanjog. That guy is great.
He's a freak, isn't he?
Great character, yeah.
He's like, hey, hack it, you know.
The pocket thingamajiggy he does.
Yeah, it's so creepy, isn't it?
So weird.
So strange.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I should watch it.
Teabag. He's a bit like a Lobos in Power. He's that kind of like weird character like that. Cool. Okay, back to why we're here. Topic for today. I was thinking yesterday that this would be a good time to do an episode discussing expectations. And so by expectations, I mean expectations that you have for yourself, then expectations that other people have for you, and how this can actually change through working on your speech and how your expectations change for yourself and how others' expectations on you change, and what are like the kind of highs and also pitfalls and kind of like troublesome things that can occur in that period. So it's very broad, but we've got a lot of time to talk about it. So I'll just kick off quickly, and just to set up. So look, like in the stuttering community, you have so many like groups of people, some that run intervention programs, you've got speech therapists, you have psychologists, you have just meetup groups, and people can join whichever one they feel most comfortable in, whichever group or program or therapy that they want to embark on. And obviously with all things get better. So if you've never been to the gym before and you start going to the gym, training 3-4 times a week, you're going to get fitter. As in, that's going to happen, right? And you're going to get like a bit slimmer and stuff, a bit more toned. You might have a before and after picture and stuff. And yeah, and in that same way, notice, and in that same way, like with speech, that's what happens. So if you embark on like an intensive program, people do tend to not pop like a picture, but they'll have a before and after picture or before and after comment post or video. Yeah, people going to schools, pardon me, some people ending up on newspapers and TV, and they would be commenting on like transformation this, transformation that, things have changed, I changed my life, etc, etc, etc. And that's all great, but it isn't always that straightforward, because what happens a few months later or even further on, is it always going to be a linear progression, and will that transformation actually be permanent? So I'm going to take a step back there and hand it over to you guys. Your kind of experiences, thoughts on expectations for you personally, and from the outside people. And by outside people, I mean friends and family are the key ones, because they would have known you before and after any type of program or approach or therapy that you have embarked on. 3, 2, 1, go.
I'll go first. Expectations immediately after a course, is that what you're asking, Ruben? Okay, so immediately after a course, personally, your expectations are to be quite fluent, if that's what you have initially gone there to do, and if it hasn't been explained to you what the expectations should be afterwards. That was personally how it was outlined to me. So what I found after my first course, or after working on my speech, is that people that don't have a stutter, or even people that do have a stutter, but mainly people that don't have a stutter, who know you and knew you before, they are very much watching the way you speak. And with me personally, it even got to the point that people were asking me to speak to show other people how I now speak, like to show them the comparison, as if I was like some type of puppet, like, quick, speak, look how he speaks now.
Is that a party trick?
Yeah. And it did put the pressure on, and there was quite a lot of pressure, and it was pressure that I didn't expect to have after working on your speech. Once you've been through a program of some sort, people are expecting you to be a much better speaker than you were before instantly, because they think, well, you've been on this course, so what's happened? Are you now cured? That's the word that flies around a lot, cured. As we know, there's no cure for stuttering. So that did put a lot of pressure on me. Also, there was other pressures, like pressure to report back to people that were helping you in your support network, constant positive things. You didn't really, in the early days, you didn't like to report back that something didn't really go well. You didn't really understand the journey properly. You thought that the journey would be constantly perfect and you were always on an upward, like your graph was always had an upward curve, whereas we know, as Ruben explained yesterday, it kind of dips a little bit. So yeah, there was pressure from all angles and pressure that I didn't expect. And when I removed that pressure and I decided to desensitize myself from that pressure, the journey was a lot better. Because when you start to experience a few blocks in front of people, especially family and friends that knew you before, now they've known you have great speech. When you start to experience a few little blocks here and there, they're like, oh, okay, whoa. Like they're kind of shocked by it, because they're like, oh no, like what's happening again? Has he lost his fluency now? And just because they don't understand the journey. So it's important. What I learned, it's important to clearly outline what the journey of working on your speech is to as many people close to you as possible, so you don't feel that that pressure, or you don't have that anxiety before you talk to them to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is managing expectations, because you're going to be excited, right? And as a result, they're going to be excited because they've been close to you for so long, and they've kind of been with you through some of the tough times and stuff. And definitely expectation management is key. Yeah, get Anthony on. Do it, Chris. You heard Anthony coming on. So if you don't correctly manage the expectations, then you can actually put some unnecessary pressure on yourself. And this will actually cause issues down the line when you are experiencing troublesome times. Like throughout my journey, like things can be tough. There'll be days when speech isn't at its like strongest or smoothest, I'd say. But I've come to a point where I've been fully transparent with the people around me for the past few years and say, look, like I can do all these cool things and I'm constantly working on it, but it's a bit like fitness, it's a bit like health. Sometimes it's just not your day that day. But I always say, like, regardless of where you are, where your fitness is, where your speech is, always turn up and can't go wrong. Sandy, I can hear you revving, you're ready to take off. Go, mate, go. You got the next 20 minutes, all for you, mate. All for you.
I've been ready, mate. I've just been,
Go
so
on.
Expectations are an interesting one. Because I remember after my first ever M Group course, I was flying, right? I went in on that course, super severe stutter. I was always avoiding. I was always hiding my stutter. And then I did this course, and then I'm speaking in public, I'm speaking to hundreds of strangers, and I can speak in control. So then I just got off on this big trajectory, right? And in my head, even though everyone on the course has clearly said it is not a cure, it's not a cure. Anthony, what's up? Good to see you.
Hey, hello.
Been a long time.
Been a while.
Oh, dude, thanks for joining. Just quickly, everyone, this is Anthony Hinsliff, who's here as well, joining us on the feed. Welcome. This is your debut.
Yeah.
Enjoy your first cap. You've come on as a second half substitute on the only podcast featuring people who stutter, running everyday daily feeds, open to Q&A on social media. Will soon be on some of the biggest podcasting platforms as soon as I upload the episodes to them. And so that's my mission this weekend. So you have joined at an opportune time. Anthony is going to share his wisdom and his fantastic beard and his hair and just his enthusiasm. So I'm very, very excited. Please give him some love in the comments because it's the first time he's here. So he stepped up. Anthony, we're talking about expectations after you've done any type of therapy or course, and how things can pressurize you. If people expect you to be really fluent, then you can't, as in if your speech drops off and then you struggle to reach that level that you demonstrated to them before, they may have questions and there are different pressures around it. So Sander was in the middle before you interrupted him. We're going to get Sander.
How rude, mate. How rude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry about that, man.
That's all good. So as I was saying, where was I? Yeah, I did my first ever M group course, and I was absolutely flying, right? I was absolutely flying. And even everybody on the course told me it is not a cure. You have to use the breathing and all this stuff. I was like, nah, you're wrong. I'm special. I'm gonna smash it. So I just, yeah, I tried to be fluent, and for about, I don't know, half a year, I had that great speech. I was in control with almost everyone, and I was loving life, right? And the expectation that I put on myself was, of course, you need to be in control all the time, which is impossible, of course, right? Like, so stupid. However, I told my friends and family that I should be speaking it in control. And after a year and a half, I started to really have issues with the speech and with the whole breathing technique and trying to stay in control. And as I started to struggle, I started to push through my blocks, I almost felt like a fraud, you know? Because I had all this expectation that, oh, I can be the best speaker ever, I can use this technique and just always be in control. And yeah.
No, I was actually going to ask a question afterwards, but you can carry on and just answer. Kind of like, did it give you a false sense of security? No, sorry, not a false sense of security, but did it give you like kind of a false sense of who you were. You felt confident, but as soon as things dropped off, the confidence went. So were you actually confident in the first place? And then did your personalities, was there a massive difference between your personalities? So when you were able to express yourself really fluently and doing all these great things, but then you were unable to afterwards, did it make you think, well, was that really me, or is this really me? And
yeah. So what happened is that I ended up placing all of my self-confidence and also my self-esteem on how I was speaking. And when my speech was up here, I felt really good about myself, and I was the man, I could speak, it was all good. However, as I started to struggle more and more, I was thinking, what's happening? I should be able to stay in control of my speech if I just use this technique. And as I was slowly more and more unable to use the technique properly, my self-belief, my self-confidence, and my self-esteem also slowly went down and down until I completely quit. And at that point, my speech was the worst it had ever been. I mean, ever. Like, I was at such a negative point because of all these expectations I had put on myself, and also because I had linked my self-esteem and my self-confidence to my speaking ability.
Would you say, Sandra, that because you made so much progress so quickly, it maybe made it even harder to cope with stuttering after you dropped off that level? Because before, you didn't really have these expectations and external pressures. It was just a bonus for you to get a few sentences out fluently. But because you had experienced so much positivity, then when you lost that, did that make it even harder for you to cope with your speech?
Yeah. After I had my big crash, I was just depressed. I actually went straight back to using tricks I was avoiding, and because it taught as part of this program, you should never use tricks. You should never avoid. I just felt like I was a failure, and if I and I didn't have any of this negativity prior to joining it. So I think that kind of answers a bit of your question, maybe.
It does answer it does answer the question, and it raises some more questions, because the bit afterwards where people see your progress, that's always going to be the dangerous period, because it's a bit like anyone experiencing success in quite a few things. It does make you complacent when all you hear is compliments and stuff from other people. And I'm just going to kind of hand this next question over to either Anthony or Chris, but have you guys experienced similar things where you like, if you can think of a specific example where you've had to speak to someone or a group of people who know that you've been working on your speech and have seen you like kill it, like, red hot, doing really well, but you know deep down at that moment things aren't going well, and how have you felt, and have you been able to be a bit more transparent with them about how it all works? It's a very specific question, but if you do have anything that's related to it, like, please share as well. And if you don't,
so I guess the expectation of being fluent from me was highest when I was coming back onto a intensive course after I'd been having a really hard time with my speech, returning, and on the first night before the course started, I guess that's when I was feeling most anxious about showing people how my speech really was.
Did you feel like that when you were at work as well? Say, like, did you ever tell people at work that you were attending a course, and then did they expect like a steep improvement your first day back?
So I think the first day back from work, or the second day, or the first few days, I was always really fluent and really happy with how my speech was going. But after I had that first block, that's when the pressure built up, and I started to feel really anxious about it. Yeah, definitely. And
did you ever kind of like try to explain to them that it isn't a like a permanent kind of permanent state of speech? It's always going to oscillate, and you have to put in a bit of work, but sometimes there's a lot more to it, and their expectations can actually have a detrimental effect if they're curious as to, wait, this guy was fluent like a few days ago, what's happened to him now?
Yeah, so I think I had explained these things to them, but deep down, I was still trying to show them that I'd been a good course and all that type of thing. So I wasn't being truly honest, I don't think.
Christopher Jackson, anything from your repertoire, your range of experiences?
The one that sticks out to me was, it's not a very positive and uplifting situation to talk about personally, but when my dad was ill, I really noticed my speech deteriorate. And I know that my dad was watching me a lot when I was talking. And I know that it used to really bother him that I had a stutter, and he wanted to see me progress. So I felt the need to show him that I'm okay now. And when I would have real hard, strong blocks in front of him, that was quite hard. That was quite hard for me because I wanted to show him that everything's fine and I'm pretty much fluent. Even though I knew the journey by then, I still wanted the best speech to be with him. And that used to put me under even more pressure. And I think I remember AO actually called him once to explain to him the journey. Like, don't get too down about it because this is a journey and CJ the curve will go back up, basically.
Do you think that his feelings towards your like hard blocks, was it him being upset by seeing them, or was it more him seeing you have them and thinking, oh, Chris will be upset, so that makes me upset?
Yeah, I think it was more of the second point you raised. He asked me a question ages ago before that period, and he said, do you have the tools in your repertoire to sort your speech out for the long term? And I said, yes, I do. And I told him that if I had let my speech deteriorate, it's up to me to be able to get it back. So I think it was kind of a look from him to say, are you going to start implementing stuff now? That's what the concern was. Are you going to let this slip? Are you going to let it drag on and on and on? Or are you going to address it?
Sorry, Chris, give me a second. I think the video is a bit behind my audio. So that's my broadband for you. Just a short personal one from me. So, like all my friends and family are aware of like the stuff I do and things I do in the public speaking world. So not to brag, but I'm the boss. I'm joking. I have won a few Toastmaster competitions. So these are like the big ones, into club ones. I've been to like the area contests and the next rounds, and I've chaired contests as well. Regularly do presentations at work and different things. So, but same thing, right? Expectations. They're always thinking, oh, speech must be like sick in front of people. Da, da, da. So when it came to the wedding and the speech I did as the groom, so I knew that people were, as in, not expecting it to be sick or like kind of expecting something incredible and stuff, but just the fact that I'm doing so much and I'm always transparent and posting about it on various platforms, etc. There was an element of expectation there, right? Because can this guy actually talk the talk, literally? But I was in like a position where I could embrace that pressure and actually enjoy it when the time came. And there isn't like a better feeling than actually having high expectations than actually reaching those expectations. And that's why I would always encourage anyone who is worried about their speech and all that kind of stuff, just to like take a chance, because it's easy to think what could happen if things go wrong. But I always think now, well, what could happen if things go right? And the emotions are incredible. So props to you all for actually being here today on this podcast, especially Anthony making his first appearance, Sandro making his fourth.
I think it's probably my fourth now.
Fourth.
Good times.
Yeah. And Chris making his 14th.
100% attendance rate I have.
Yes, sir.
Me and Ruben.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna for the next part, I'm gonna have a slightly kind of like an open table bit. So if you want to like bring anything up, you can go for it. Before, I'm gonna have a look at comments. We've got we actually have a viewer from Sweden here, Dina Skoda, who I haven't spoken to in a few years, but welcome, Dina. Thank you for stopping by.
Hello, Dina.
I hope you're well, dude. Hope you're well. So no further questions from Facebook feed. So guys, have you got anything else to bring up? Any things that may have triggered you in kind of like whilst thinking about those questions? Sanjog, do you have anything else that you've now thought afterwards that you thought you could have added? Same with Anthony and Chris.
Not hugely.
Take that as a no then.
To be honest.
Well, just one thing that got me. Oh, sorry. One thing that got me thinking when Sanjog was speaking about his experiences is my speech good if I'm feeling confident, or is it the other way around, do you think?
And that's an excellent question. Excellent question. I'm going to leave it to these guys to answer, because it isn't a straightforward yes or no question. So I'm going to take a step back and see what they have and try and beat them afterwards.
Yeah, so that's actually quite interesting, right? Because in the past, I always thought, okay, if I'm speaking in control, or I'm speaking quite fluently, then my speech is good. However, recently I've kind of changed my view on it. If I'm speaking and I'm not feeling that anxious, or I'm not feeling negative emotions, and I'm open, and I'm being honest and being vulnerable, and I'm actually connecting to the people I'm speaking to, then I would say my speech is good, even though to somebody else hearing me speak, I'd probably be quite disfluent, right? But for me, it's more about how you feel when you speak, and also your ability to deal with any of those negative emotions that do come up as you stutter, like all the anxiety, all the anger, all the frustration, like all that stuff is constantly coming up as you speak, right? But for me, if I'm able to slow down when I'm blocking and just allow all that stuff to come up, then I think, okay, I'm doing pretty well with my speech. However, if I'm speaking and I'm trying to hide my stutter and I'm pushing away all of those negative emotions as they come up, then I think, all right, you're hiding, so therefore your speech isn't that great. You need to slow down. You need to open up more.
Thanks, Andrew. And just to follow up on that, do you kind of feel that just talking about it now has actually helped you? in the moment a bit. Actually talking through like that process in your head and making it a bit more transparent for like people tuning in and us. Do you feel that that's helped you kind of a bit more right now in this podcast?
Yeah. Because as we all know, if you disclose your stutter at the start, very often it becomes easy to speak. Yeah. So the mere act of me explaining what I'm trying to do with the whole having a block, slowing down, letting negative emotions come up, that was kind of a disclosure in my own way, specifically about emotions, right? Emotions.
Yeah, and I do believe that in order to progress, you have to make continuous disclosures. It isn't just something at the start and then that's it. Because telling someone that you stutter isn't good enough. After a while, you have to keep remind them, because it's easy to not do that, and they think it's a before and after type transformation, fitness bootcamp type situation. So just to follow up on Anthony's question regarding confidence, so do you gain it from positive speech, or does positive speech give you confidence? It purely depends on maybe where you've come from in both columns, but I don't believe that you need one for the other. There's plenty of confident people that maybe draw their confidence from different things, from success in business, financially, if they look really good. I know, like if they're really good sportsmen, etc., because you can draw confidence from different things. I just want to ask Chris and Anthony, do you think that you can develop a certain level of pride that makes it harder to be honest? So after you've been through some kind of a program and you've got to a good place, do you feel that by being more transparent with people around you, you lose face because you've shown them that you are like kind of this evolved person? But when you find yourself struggling and realize you haven't really changed at all, do you then have a sense of pride where you will like not be able to be transparent, and that can affect you?
Yeah, for sure. After a course and after you've had experience with great speech, it's very difficult as someone who's stuttered their whole life to not take on this new character of someone who has transformed. It's what we've been wanting our whole lives, and all of a sudden we have it. So it's very difficult to not take that on. And what happens is we live up to this new character, we continue to play this character, and then when things are starting to slip a little bit, we don't necessarily have the pride to even ask our support network for help, because we might even feel like we've let them down in a way, let them down. So pride can get in the way. And I know that it gets in the way of a lot of people, and a lot of people will prefer to just walk away from their support network rather than reaching out to them and saying, listen guys, this is what I've experienced. What do you think I should to do, because you've lived this life of great speech and everyone's looked at you like, wow, he smashed it. So pride can get in the way. Pride also gets in the way of being transparent to everybody else, because people can point it out to you and they say, okay, so what's happening with your speech recently? You know, I can see that it's like dipped a bit. Are you going like back on the course, or are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it hurts you. You don't want to hear that, because like with me personally, it was like, I was like, listen, I don't need you to tell me that, because I'm fully aware when I'm having a block. I don't need you to tell me that I'm having a block. But you do need that person to tell you you're having a block if you're not taking action to try and rectify it now. And I prefer to be surrounded by people that are going to tell me, listen, CJ, you need to start working on your speech properly again. I don't want to be surrounded by yes men, because it's only going to be worse for me.
Cheers, Chris. And there's some great points there, because if you think about like the two of us and AO, like so with our work that we do for our charity, Stop Holding Back, and the fact that we started this daily podcast, and we are really putting ourselves on the line, because we have left certain programs in the past, and there will be questions asked, right? Because if we maybe have our dips or troughs, or people see us block a bit, and there will be question, well, who do you think you are? You were with us, and you reached this level, and now you've left, and this is the way you are now. And that's literally the way like some people are going to take this, because they will be watching this podcast, tuning in, like in different parts of it, and they will be analyzing us and scrutinizing us, because like it's easy to fall into the trap of those external kind of factors and pressures, but it's up to us to actually stabilize ourselves and just be straight up and say, look, like we are on our individual journeys, and it isn't always going to be like straightforward. So it's different people will pull you in different directions, but it's up to you to actually find your ground and work out where your position is in this whole and this whole kind of, I can't really think of the word, but your own journey. Do you have anything to add before I move on to Leo's question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, ultimately, people are going to be watching this podcast and be like, oh, look what he just done there. Look how he had to cancel there. Look how he said that word. But ultimately, you ain't got anything to worry about if you are genuinely living the life that you claim to be living. There's nothing to see through. You know, when this is you and you are generally living a life of working on your speech, there's nothing to see through. So, yeah, it is what it is. You can't let fear of people scrutinizing you get in the way, and you definitely can't let your pride get in the way.
I think that's a good point to actually segue to Leo's question. So this is from the Facebook feed. So Leo is asking, just a random question. It's not a random question here, because any question about stuttering isn't random here. So don't worry, Leo. But how to keep eye contact all the time, even if you are struggling, and keep cool at the same time. How do we do that? And just to make you guys think a bit before I let you guys out the blocks, do you think pride plays a factor in it? Facing someone's eyes and their reactions, etc. Do you think that plays a part in it? So the floor is open. Apparently Sanjog is the eye contact man. Go on, Sanjog. Tell us what you know about eye contact.
All right. Hold on one sec. Anyway, sorry about that. Am I the eye contact hand, Chris? Like,
Yes, you
I
are.
am eye contact, man.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
No, I'll explain why. I haven't got any problem explaining why.
Yeah, go
I
on.
remember a while ago, we went out and we were making contacts together. That was quite a while ago in Westfield, Stratford. And
Yeah.
what impressed me the most about the way you approach contacts is, regardless of how hard you found it to say any given word, you did not break eye contact with anyone that you spoke to. And that's quite rare for someone that at the time you were claiming, yeah, I'm struggling with my speech. Because when you're struggling with your speech, the main thing you want to do is look away. And with you, it was the main thing that you wasn't prepared to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, Chris, thank you so much for that.
And that makes you the king of eye contact.
Yeah, mate. Here's my crown, guys. There's my crown.
Because
So, yeah.
keep eye contact when they got great speech, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's actually a lot harder if your speech is as shit as mine, when you're just blocking like all over the place. But I think what helps me is that I always remember how little I kept eye contact prior to the M program, right? Like I hardly ever looked anyone in the eyes, and I was always ashamed of stuttering. And I think as soon as I start to look away, it's almost a sign that I'm giving up, you know. But if you're able to just stay there, look them in the eyes, and keep that connection. Connection is so important when you're speaking, right? And as soon as you break the eye contact as you're struggling, you're in essence, you're breaking that connection. And if you combine the block and the loss of eye contact, it's an extra loss of connection in my books.
And by connection, do you predominantly mean the connection between you and the listener?
Yeah.
Would you say that it could be easier to get the word out if you weren't looking?
Yes, it can actually be easier to speak if you're not looking people in the eye. But, you know, as soon as you start doing that, is kind of avoidance, and you're hiding.
I'm going to play devil's advocate there for that point.
Yeah.
So how many people do you know who don't stutter? That when you talk to them, they maintain eye contact like throughout the conversation, even when they're like trying to like think of the word that they can't get out of their mind or thinking creatively. How many people maintain eye contact regardless? And does that affect the communication link between the two of you?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
I got you there, Sanjog. Yes.
Obviously, fluent people, as they're speaking, hardly ever just stare at each other in the eyes for the entire conversation.
Just to add, so that's an open question, by the way. So feel free to jump in, and if you're listening on Facebook, feel free to comment as well, and we will read it out. Sorry, Sanjog, carry on.
I don't know, man.
I could jump in if you want.
Someone tag him in, bro. I think this guy needs a breather.
I need, man.
Tag team, 3D, go.
I've had too many blocks. I need a break, man.
No, you can never have too many blocks, Sanjog. Don't worry.
That's true.
They're like Pringles, man. Once you block, you can't stop. Go on, Chris.
I was going to say it's the whole repertoire of communication skills that a certain individual will have, right? But as we can tell when someone has lost eye contact genuinely because they're thinking, genuinely because it's part of what they're trying to say, or whether they're losing eye contact because they are nervous or they're unsure, or, you know, there's reasons why people would genuinely lose eye contact, and there's reasons why people genuinely wouldn't lose eye contact if they were more confident. I think it does go back to what you're talking about with confidence. Confidence is something we can almost lie about. We can act as if we're confident, and keeping eye contact is one of those key parts to acting confident. When you look someone in the eye and you're talking to them, it reassures them that what you're saying is honest. It reassures them that what you're saying is truthful, that you're passionate about it, that you're sure about it. Looking away, especially when you stutter, it only gives the listener even more of a right to not listen, even more of a right to not take you that much more serious. Whereas if you're locking eye contact with them, then it gives them more reason to stay engaged with what you're saying.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm just thinking, because on that point when you're, as in when you have it locked and it's quite intense, it does take effect if you're having like a DMC with someone. So the DMC, I mean, like a deep and meaningful conversation. But if it's like an everyday chit chat, then you don't like need to actually. Then there isn't a requirement for you to like, how was your weekend? As in like.
Yeah, no, but there's still an element of respect there. Like, look at me when I'm talking to you, son. Like,
yeah, because in all your conversations, you are going to be constantly trying to like inspire or like prompt change and do like a public speech every time you have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, of course.
So that's where we may have to draw the line. Anthony, do you have anything to add before we go over to the Facebook feed again?
Just wanted to say that I really struggle with eye contact. It's one of my things I really have to work on. I find it so scary for some reason. It shouldn't be scary, right? It's just eye contact, but if I'm stuttering, I look away straight away. So it's something I really need to work on.
Before we actually shift focus, is there any particular reason why you think that you personally have that specific struggle?
No. I think it probably just comes from anxiety, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you very much. Facebook feed, apparently in Finland, it's also rare for fluent people to maintain eye contact. So guys, don't worry too much. The con will be like Sanjog. And got another question. So this is from Anta. He says, I'm sure you've been asked this already. We like repeat questions. We'll have better answers next time. But nevertheless, do you feel you're permanently dependent on your daily routines? How do you cope when you're skipping? And by skipping, I think he means skipping routines. Guys, daily rituals, routines, warm-ups, all that kind of stuff. Do you cope on it, or do you rely on it? And what happens when you skip? Oh, guilty faces are everywhere. I see a lot of guilt on the screen. I can start then. I'll be short and sweet. But I cope well when I skip my routines because it happens frequently. So I'm used to skipping routines and actually finding ways to compensate throughout the day. If I have bigger speaking situations in that day, then I will be a bit more attentive. I'll do a lot more prep on if I'm doing a presentation at work. I will be running through my slides on that morning, running through content, potential Q&A, like slowing down my breathing throughout the day just to get that calmness. But generally, it's impossible to actually to get like an optimal amount of prep or warm up every single day. There will be things that get in the way at times. So you have to be flexible and work around it. And you can't think of yourself as relying purely on that for a positive day. You have to understand that things don't always go to plan and be mentally ready to react when you don't have the adequate, ideal preparation behind you. You guys?
Yeah, I can go next. When you say dependent on your routine, you could be referring to just doing a daily warm-up, but it's impossible to do that every single day of your life. So you have to get to the point that you can still function even if you don't get off to the most disciplined start, right? I think that when you do take it on as a lifestyle to be comfortable working on your speech and advertising, then you don't have to depend on anything because that is you. It becomes you. So there's nothing external to have to rely on, or you don't need anything else to happen in order for you to be able to get involved in this speaking situation. When it's not and you're trying to switch it on and off, depending on what speaking challenges you have on any given day, that's when it can be more of a challenge and you do have to get off to that good start. You do have to be in the flow. But then is your belief system really there for when you come to that speaking challenge? Have you prepared yourself enough? Do you really believe that you've put in the work? So I would say it's not about being dependent on a routine. It's about depending on yourself to take it on as a lifestyle.
Cool. Cheers, Chris. The rest?
I can go. So at the moment, I don't actually have any kind of speech specific stuff I do, which is great because I remember I would always do like an hour in the mornings. I would do my 20 minutes of breathing, good old hands on ribs, good times, and then after that I would do like the alphabet and I would make some calls, and it helped me actually. But at the moment, all I do is a 20 minute emotional acceptance, meditation, meditation. And if I skip it, well, I haven't actually skipped it yet, but I think if you start to depend on it, it can start to do a number on your confidence if you have skipped it, you know. In your head, you'll start to think, oh, I haven't done X, Y, and Z, so therefore I'm probably going to have a bad speech day, or I'm going to do this and do that.
Sanjog, I'm sorry, but you just opened a can of worms there. What's emotional acceptance meditation? I'm dying to know now. I'm dying.
Really?
Yeah, please go on.
So it's essentially what I do is I close my eyes, try and ground myself, start focusing on the breathing, and I allow any emotions to come up. I place my attention on them, and I heal them. That's it, really.
Do you mind doing a 2-minute demonstration with us? So walking us through it. Wow.
Mate, I'll just have my eyes closed the whole time.
Yeah, but
what do you mean?
You get us to do it, and then you talk through the spiel script.
Not now. Don't do it now.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can save it for a different episode then.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I think I like the vibe you have in the bedroom right now. It's getting very dark. It's very mysterious. You have this glow about you as well. Yeah, I would definitely give you a 20-minute segment the next time you're on for a cheeky bit of emotional acceptance meditation.
Oh, mate, sure thing.
Guys, I think we are into stoppage time. Final thoughts, Anthony. How did you find your first appearance with us?
Well, I've actually found it very difficult. A lot harder than I thought I'd find it. I'm really struggling with my speech, guys. I'm stressing out on here.
I hope it's not us.
No, it's just the new shaved head on Sandjog. It's freaking me out. I can't concentrate, man.
Yeah, how rude.
He's pretty intimidating now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's bloody scary. I don't know why.
It is a little bit scary, to be fair.
He's like doing his podcast from a cave right now.
I know.
Go on, Sandra. How have you found it? I think since Monday, right? Feels like a long time ago when we do these. How do you find today's?
It does. Yes. As I was saying to Chris earlier, if you'd asked me to do this in January, there's no way in hell I would have been comfortable to just be on here stuttering on loads of words. But no, yeah, it's been good. I'm very proud of myself for just doing it, and for just pushing my comfort zone a lot, right? So thanks for having me on. And yeah, thank you.
But regardless of what you think, I would have somehow got you on here in January. I would have.
No, mate, there's no way. I would have avoided. No, there's not.
I'm like, hey, like,
There's not, like, literally no way.
There's a new app
I would
out.
have quit.
Dude, you can press record, and the other person will not realize. Yeah, you can.
After I or Ayo or Chris, I would have been like, hang up call, close laptop, go in the corner and start crying.
CJ.
Yeah, it was good to have Anthony. I haven't seen Anthony for a while. He's grown a beard, the goatee. Him and Sanjog have obviously got something going on where they want to have a beard during this quarantine time. Unexpectedly. Me, I always have a beard. But no, it's good podcast, some great points raised. Enjoyed it.
Cheers, Chris. I said goodbye to our friends on Facebook. Thank you for jumping in during the podcast, and if you're still on, thank you again for your kind comments. Got Callum Showford again saying great podcast, and he extends a big welcome to Anthony as our new signing on SHB Unfiltered. And thank you from Chris Papacosta, who I believe is CJ's cousin, saying great podcast, Doug. Another great insight. So thank you very much for the love, Chris Papacosta. And so that's episode 14 in the books, which means we have been doing this every day for 2 weeks. Chris, how does that feel?
Yeah, no, it feels crazy. Just to point out, Chris Papacosta, the guy on the feed, if anyone's seen my speech and I tell the story about being at a football game with my cousin who wanted to go to the toilet whilst I ordered him a burger and a Diet Coke and I wouldn't let him, that's my cousin. That's so he's the one that's that has had to hold himself from going to the toilet to order food for me in the past. So he knows all about my journey.
Hey, do you know what? I am not surprised he went to the toilet, because I've had the burgers at Stamford Bridge before. They aren't the best. They aren't the best, put it that way. But yeah, thank you everyone. And this is it. We've had a bumper episode today, so I'll be quick. I just want to say thank you very much for constant support. We are entering the weekend, which doesn't change a thing because we are still in lockdown. So we will be running Saturday and Sunday. Look forward to seeing you on, and hopefully we will be on a few more platforms as well by the end of the weekend. So working on that, going to get our reach out there. We've had some generous people give us their donations to support what we do. After lockdown's over, we will be proceeding into studio. So we'll be doing face-to-face podcasts with each other. It won't be on a daily basis, unfortunately. I don't think I'll be able to stand seeing Chris every day.
You'd love seeing me every day, Ruben. Why are you lying?
Yeah, but Zoom is different. But yeah, so if you can support us, that would be great. We'll have links up, so please pop over to our YouTube to see what we've done over the past 2 weeks. Sanchok, mate, you could have done that like half an hour ago.
So bright now.
I know, right?
I can't see anything.
You can really see a bald head now as well. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to stop talking because apparently I like the sound of my own voice. This is end of episode 14. Guys, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool. And please remember, stop holding back.